So 2019, that was like your year, and you have so much more ahead of you for this year.
Yeah.
So why don't we go back and talk a little bit about like the build up for the whole year, as far as like your first show to then the Northern Classic up until the one in Miami. Like, what was the prep? Was there a different type of prep for each show?
Yeah, so my very first show, so the beginning of the year, January 3rd of 2019, I had literally just got out of the military. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I was going to school, but I didn't know what else. And I'm like one of those people that I have to be like in a set routine. I have to have stuff to like keep me busy. And so after I was talking to my wife again, and I was just like, I think I'm gonna do a show, because people always kept telling me like, man, you need to do a show, just try it out. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try out a show. And I had seen like the classic physique division, because I knew that, you know, I wasn't big enough to be a bodybuilder. And so I was just like, you know, classic physique, I really like, you know, how they focus more on, you know, structure and all that stuff, and having good shapes. So I was like, I think I want to go in that division. And I had left for vacation, was gone for vacation for like a week or two, and then came back, and then I just started prep, like just on my own, just trying to figure it out on my own. And I picked not the Northern Classic, but the Emerald Cup.
Yeah.
I had no idea the Emerald Cup was like one of the biggest shows up here. I was just telling her, like, I was just like, yeah, I think I'm gonna do the Emerald Cup, because I had always heard people, you know, talk about it. So I was like, I think that would be a good show to do. Later on, as I'm prepping and stuff, and I'm in the gym, and I'm starting to get leaner and leaner, and people were like, are you getting ready for a show? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, what show are you doing? I'm doing the Emerald Cup. And they're just like looking at me like I'm crazy. They're like, you're doing the Emerald Cup for your first show? And I'm just like, yeah. Like, what's wrong with that? And they're just like, I would do a smaller show. And so I didn't know, and I actually started looking up the Emerald Cup, and I'm like, oh, okay, like this is a pretty big show.
Like, whoops.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, I'm already prepping for it now. At that time, I was like 9 weeks out, I think. So I was just like, I'm already prepping for it. I'm just gonna, you know, see how I do. And then about 8 weeks out, I found the coach, and he kind of guided me, like started showing me some things, helped me with my posing and stuff. And he helped me from 8 weeks out all the way up until the show. And that was like a tremendous like boost right there, because he was like one of the first ones that like really believed in me. And he definitely like, he basically showed me the ropes. Like I remember walking into his office, and he was just like, dude, like, you're gonna be a pro. He was like, you have the structure, like you have the work ethic. And I had just like, that was my first time, you know. And he was just like he was talking to me like I was just gonna be the next big thing. Yeah. And I was just like, I haven't even done a show yet. Like, this guy, like, you haven't even seen me on stage. And he was just like, I know, like you're definitely gonna do big things. And he helped me like 100% of the way. He was like the first person to really believe in me, as far as like competing wise. And so after went into the Emerald Cup, the week, it was my first show. So the week leading into the Emerald Cup was like the worst week ever leading into a show. So about 7 days before, you always hear the horror stories about people binge eating like right before the show. So I'm dieting real hard, looking super lean and everything. And then one night, I eat my last meal, and right before I go to bed, I'm just like, I'm gonna have a little bit of peanut butter. So I had a little bit of peanut butter. That was the worst decision I could have made, because after that, I cleaned like the whole tub of peanut butter.
Oh,
I cleaned like 2 bags of cereal. Like I just like kept eating. And then after like literally almost everything in the cabinet was gone, I was just like,
whoops.
wow, like, I really just did that. And for classic physique, like you have to make a weight. I have a weight that I have to make, and it's like challenging for me to make my weight as it is. And so right after that, that next morning I weighed, and I was like 10 pounds over I had gained probably like 6 or 7 pounds just from that, like the night alone.
Damn.
And so I remember telling my coach, I was just like, oh man, like I messed up, like I binge ate. And I mean, of course, like he's competing for a long time, but it's like, hey, it happens, you know, just get back on track and everything. And so get back on track, and then about 2 days later, I binge ate again. And it was just like, it was so crazy because like I had never had cravings like that because I had never competed before.
Yeah.
And so I binge ate again. This time it wasn't as bad, but I still like, I think we had like another like box of cereal or whatever. I ate like the whole thing. And I was just like so disappointed in myself.
Carbs, man.
Exactly. And like it's like 5 days before the show, so it's like crunch time is peak week.
Yeah.
And I'm just like so sad, and I'm prepping my meals. So this is like the worst week ever. I'm prepping my meals and I'm cutting chicken, and I set the knife down and I go over to grab something. This is that night that I binge ate. And I come back and my elbow hits the knife goes down and sticks in my foot. Yeah, so I'm just like, worst night ever. So I pull the knife out of my foot. It's like a big butcher knife. Pull the knife out of my foot, and I'm just like bleeding everywhere. So I'm like, okay, I gotta, like, it's okay. So I go wash my foot off and everything, clean it all up. And my wife's asleep at the time, so she has no idea this chaos is going on. So the next morning, it's such a funny story. So the next morning, I wrapped my foot up, everything that night. The next morning, I go to sleep on the couch because I didn't want to get, blood on the bed or anything. And I wake up and the like paper towels that I had wrapped my foot in are like soaking wet. And when I went to sleep, my foot didn't hurt at all. The next morning I woke up, it felt like somebody had chopped off my foot. Like it hurt so bad. Yeah. And so I tried to stand up to put pressure on it, and then I just instantly like fall down because I couldn't put any pressure on it. And at this point, it's 4 days before the competition.
Oh, no.
And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I've done all this hard work, like
stab myself
exactly, like to cheat on my diet the last few days and stab myself on the foot. It's just the worst way you can go out. So I'm just like, okay, like I gotta do something. So I go wake up my wife and I'm like, hey, like I need you to take me to the hospital so they can give me something. And she's just like, what happened? I'm like, a knife just landed in my foot last night. Like I just stabbed my foot. She's like, what? She's like freaking out. So she gets up and she's like about to start getting ready. She goes into the bathroom and then she sees the blood everywhere. And she just like instantly gets nauseous, starts getting sick. So she starts throwing up and stuff. And so we're both just like, I'm like, I need you to take me to the hospital. Like, you can't be getting sick right now. And so she's just like sweating and everything, nauseous from seeing the blood. And she's like, I can't, like, she's like trying to get up to try to take me to the hospital, but she just can't, like, she's just sick to her stomach. So I'm like, all right, like, I gotta go to the hospital. Yeah. So I'm literally crawling on my hands and knees, getting ready, putting clothes on. And then I crawl, we're on the 4th floor, so I crawl all the way to the elevator, go down, and then I go outside, and I'm just like hobbling to get to the car, get in the car, drive myself to the hospital, and then I pull up to the emergency room, and I'm like hobbling out and everything. And when I get in there, the woman, she's like, "What? Like, are you okay? Like, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, a knife landed in my foot." She's like, "Oh my gosh!" She's like, how'd you get here? I'm like, I drove. And she's like, you drove yourself here? She's like, I'm gonna slap you right now. I'm just like, yeah, I know. So doctor ends up coming in and they stitch me up and he gives me some painkillers and stuff, and it ends up like taking care of that. So yeah, leading up to the Emerald Cup, it was crazy. and then I had to do like so much cardio just to. My foot enabled me, or so that night that I had cheated, the next day I went to the ER and all that stuff. And since my foot was like just so swollen and hurting and stuff, I couldn't do cardio that night. Yeah. So then that whole day I couldn't do cardio. The next day I'm 3 days out. And so I'm still like 10, at this point I think I'm like 12 pounds overweight. Shit. So at this point I didn't tell my coach. I didn't tell him, just like, yeah, I'm not telling them all this happened. So I'm just gonna have to, suck it up and do cardio. So those last three days were like brutal because I did so much cardio, like trying to lose those last like 12 pounds, and then doing sauna, like all this type of stuff. And it comes down to weigh-ins. The day it's time to weigh in, we go there and I weigh in and I make weight. I'm like a pound under. Wow. So that was like a weight off my shoulder right there. I'm just like, yes, like I'm a pound under. And then it comes to the competition and I'm not knowing what to expect. Like I said, it was my first time competing, and then I end up placing first in my class, and I'm just like, wow, like maybe I can do this bodybuilding thing. And so that right there was like a huge accomplishment to me, placing first in my class at such a big show like that. And then even just being able to compete for the overall was it was huge, because there's a lot of guys that looked like really good at that show. Yeah. And so it was just a blessing, to do good in that show after all that happened leading up to it. Like, so this is my first time competing, so I'm just like, man, like I hope this doesn't happen in any of my other shows.
That's like the best first show story.
Yeah, like everybody I tell that story to, they're just like, that sounds like it should be in a movie or something. I'm just like, yeah, like you would think it would be, because it was just the craziest thing to happen, especially like so close to the show. Like nothing really happened leading up to the show, but just that last week was like the worst ever. And plus, like, of course, going into peak week is when you feel the worst. So yeah, everything was just amplified times 10.
Yeah.
You can jump in there.
Yeah, you can get in there.
Yeah, just you can start talking.
We're gonna talk about it anyway.
No.
Okay, so all right, so that was your first show, the Emerald Cup.
First show, yeah.
Got first place, and then when did you start prepping for your second show?
My first show was like my first experience for everything, because it says my first time competing, my first time like post show. I had never, been where I was that low body fat. And like I said, even after like I had my binge day before the show, after the show, how you're supposed to just slowly acclimate your body. Yeah. No, I was just like, forget that. And actually, I didn't know that you're supposed to do that. And so I went, and the first thing you're supposed to do is like rehydrate yourself and stuff.
Right.
I didn't do that. I just went and just started eating everything, like pizza, burgers, just literally everything that you can think of. I was eating it, and I gained like 20 pounds like post show. So like I said, it's like my first time like anything, and so it definitely, like, you hear the stories of like post show binging as well, and then you gain like 20 pounds. It's like water and fat, and you go from being shredded to just like fat overnight. And that's what happened to me. Like, I went from being shredded to like just a blob overnight. And so it really like kind of messes with you, because you're looking at yourself and you're just like, how did I go from being shredded one day to looking like a blob the next?
Right.
And so after that, I took like a good break from the gym. like I said, I'm one of those people that I need to have like a structured plan. I need to have not really a structured plan, but just I like to be very have, I guess, like a purpose, or like my days like laid out, like what I'm gonna do, you know.
Okay.
And so after that show, it was just like, well, like I have nothing else, and so I took like about a month break from the gym, which is like a long time. And then I was just eating. I gained like a bunch of weight. Went through honestly a little bit of a depression as well, just because I didn't really know how to rebound, you know, after a show. And my coach, like the guy who had coached me at the time, we didn't like keep in contact after that. Like after that show, we didn't really keep in contact, so I didn't really have any guidance anymore. So it's just like I was trying to figure it out on my own, and I'm not knowing how, and I'm having all these cravings. So I would like try to stick to eating clean foods, and then, you know, I would have a donut, then that donut would turn into eating like 24 donuts, and it just like
fiasco all over.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just like kept spiraling down, and then I had just I was finishing up with my classes and everything, and I just like was going through this depression because I felt like I didn't have a purpose anymore, and I didn't have a show. And then of course, like, my body's not looking like how I wanted to look, so I'm just like, I don't think I could get in shape for another show. And so it was definitely hard for about like 2 months. I took a break from the gym altogether for probably about a month to a month and a half, and then I kind of slowly started getting back in the gym, you know, started trying to do cardio, trying to, you know, get back in shape. And then my wife again, she was just like, we have to, because I mean, she knew something was wrong with me, and I never, you know, missed the gym. And for me to take a month off the gym is just like, she knew something was not up with me, and I wasn't motivated. And like usually I'm getting on to her, motivating her, like, come on, we need to go to the gym. And it was the other way around, you know, she was having to motivate me. And she was just like, you need to pick out another show. Like, you have to pick out another show. You need to, you know, get back on track and stuff. Like, I know you're meant to do this. Like, you're blessed with this ability. And she kind of like picked me up, you know, out of my funk, because I was really like depressed for a while. And then she was like telling me, you know, I need to get back into it, get another, you know, get back to pick out another show. So I had set my sight on, it wasn't even the Northern Classic. I think it was.
Yeah, you were thinking about 2 different shows.
Yeah, it was.
Like a Spokane show or something?
Yeah, oh yeah. So it was the one in,
Was it one in Vancouver too? Right?
No, it was Spokane, but I can't remember the name of it. Anyways, it was Spokane show, and then I was also thinking of the Ironman. The Ironman was what I had my vision set on. Like, I wanted to do the Ironman, and that was the week after the Northern Classic. And so I set out with my coach, and well, actually, like, how I found my coach was, there's a woman here that she had turned pro, and her husband was in the military and stuff, and we followed each other on Instagram. And she was Tina. She was at the Emerald Cup and stuff, and then a couple weeks later she turned pro. And so I saw who her coach was, and I was like, okay. And I like looked him up and stuff, and like seen that he had, you know, some transformations and everything, and had heard nothing but good stuff about him. And so I was just like, all right, like I'm gonna, you know, link up with him. So I linked up with him, reached out to him, and he was just like, dude, like, you have a crazy physique and stuff. Like, let's get back on track and all that stuff. And he's just like super supportive the whole time. So I was like, okay. So I told him that I didn't really know what show I wanted to do, but I had a couple mapped out. And the original one, like I said, was the Ironman. And so got back on diet plan and everything, started prepping. It was about 12 weeks, I think. And that this time I'm in the reserves, so I had to do 2 weeks of what do you call it? We have like our 1 weekend a month drill, then we have like 2 weeks that we have to do out in the field.
Yeah.
So I had my 2 weeks that I had to do in the field, and I think we were actually in the field for maybe like 2 or 3 days. So it took like those 2 weeks were kind of like, I kind of fell off plan a little bit, but then right after that, I got right back on plan. We were about 11 weeks out at that point, and then the whole time leading up, I'm still not knowing what show I want to do, and I think we had a vacation plan, so it was just like bad timing. We had a vacation that we were gonna do like a week before the show, and I can't remember what. There was a reason why we didn't go on the vacation.
Our car, like, I don't think we were meant to go on that vacation.
Yeah.
Everything was happening.
All right. So second show story.
Yes.
So leading up to this show, we had a vacation that we were gonna go on. It was gonna be like our honeymoon. Because when we got married, we never actually got to go on our honeymoon. And so we were gonna go on our honeymoon. We had this vacation planned out and everything, had already booked the Airbnb. Literally like what, a couple weeks before we were supposed to go on the vacation. And this vacation was like a few weeks before my competition. So at this point, I had figured out that I was gonna do the Northern Classic because the Ironman landed on one of the days I had drill, so I couldn't do the Ironman. So just like, okay, I'll do the Northern Classic instead, which was the week before the Ironman. So that brought my prep time up a little bit. So I had less time, a week less for prep, and it was also closer to the vacation. So I was like, I would have to be, close to peak week on vacation. So I was just like, oh man, but we were still gonna do it. I was like, I didn't want to ruin the vacation just because I was gonna be on prep. And we had already paid for it, so it's like, we're still gonna go on this vacation. So literally like 2 weeks before we were supposed to go on vacation.
It was like a few days.
Was it? Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, it wasn't even, it was like 2 days. 2 days before.
You're on the story.
Yeah, 2 days before we were supposed to go on the vacation, she's at the gym and our car gets broken into.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I told you about that. Yeah, so our car gets broken into and stuff. So I had to get my car fixed, like the window and everything fixed, and we didn't have the money anymore to go on vacation.
We were gonna drive, that's why we.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna drive the car, and we couldn't drive it anymore. And so then we had already paid for it and everything. So then this crazy. So I talked to the guy that we rented the Airbnb and stuff from, and I basically told him what happened, and he was like very understanding. And we couldn't get a refund, but he was like, you can reschedule it. So I was like, okay. So I was like, well, let's reschedule it for November. And he's like, okay, like we'll reschedule it for November 23rd. I'm like, okay, cool. So schedule it for then. So yeah, that's so we're like, okay, we rescheduling and everything's, fine.
Yeah.
Then the show comes up, end up going to the show, and I'll win the show and then win the overall and then the grand overall.
Yeah.
And so after the show, the judges are they're coming up to me and they're like, hey, like, you need to go to nationals.
Nice.
I'm just like, I don't think so. And then plus I had already we had booked the other vacation, with the month, because after the Northern Classic, I was gonna be done for the year.
Yeah, you mentioned that on stage.
Yeah, like I
You're sitting there like, no.
So, because the main reason is I had promised my wife. I told her, because going through prep, like, it's not just hard on me, like it's hard on her too. So she has to deal with, you know, my mood swings and like all that stuff. So I promised her, I was like, the Northern Classic is gonna be my last show of this year, and then, you know, we'll end the year going on the vacation and, you know, the holidays and all that stuff. Like, I don't want to be in prep around that time.
Right.
And so I'm telling her all this, and then she's just like, okay, promise me, like, it's your last show. I'm like, I promise you, it's my last show. I'm not gonna do another show after that. She's like, okay. So then, like I said, I ended up winning that show, and the judges are coming up to me, and they're like, hey, you need to do nationals. Like, you will do good in nationals. And I'm still just like, I don't know. Like, part of me's thinking I'm not ready, and the other part's like, well, I promised my wife this is gonna be my last show.
Yeah.
And so, like, another judge comes up to me. He's like, hey, like, you need to go to nationals. He's like you're ready now. He's like, especially like dieting for another few weeks. Mm-hmm. He's like, you will definitely be ready. So I'm just like, I don't know. Like, thank you, but I don't think I'm gonna go. And so later that night, after we get to the hotel, we're sitting there. My two best friends are there with us and stuff, and we're just all talking. And I'm talking to my wife, and she's just like, so what do you gotta do? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, this is my last show. Like, I'm not going to nationals, because, you know, I had promised her that this was gonna be my last show, and she was like, no, like, you need to go to nationals. And I'm just like, what? Like, what? She's like, yeah, she's like you're ready. Like, if the judges are coming up to you and telling you that you're ready, you're ready. She's like, I believe like that you're gonna get your pro card and stuff. And I'm just like, okay, babe. Like, if you say, like, all right, like, let's do this then. And so it was just so weird because it went from like literally me, like that being my last show, to I had to like just switch and be like, I'm about to be in prep for another 7 weeks. So that transition right there was kind of hard because in my mind I'm like, okay, after the Northern Classic, you know, I'm thinking about, oh, I'm gonna eat all this food and stuff, and I'm gonna do all this stuff, and then after the Northern Classic, I even talked to my coach, and I'm like, hey, you know, what do you think about, you know, me doing another I told him that I didn't want to do another show, and then he was just like, I really think that you should do another show, you know, whether it's nationals or not. I just don't want you to diet all the way down, you know, for this one show and not do another show. And so then once I found out that the Northern Classic, they were going to pay for my way to nationals, then I was just like, okay, like that definitely makes it, you know, I need to go now, might as well. And so I told my coach, and I was just like, hey, I think I'm just going to go ahead and go to nationals, you know, and he was just like, all right, let's do it. So right, literally that, so Northern Classic was Saturday night. I had a pretty clean meal. Sunday, pretty much ate whatever I wanted. Monday I was right back on plan. So it was just like I had like
a couple days.
Yeah, a couple days.
48 hours. Like.
Yeah, and then just right back on plan. And then of course, like that first week, it kind of took some adjustment. Like I had a couple, you know, cheat meals here and there. But literally it's just like I had to switch gears and I'll go from the mindset of this being my last show to, okay, I'm getting ready for the biggest show in my amateur career, you know? Yeah. And so that prep leading into nationals was by far the hardest prep I had to do, because it's like going from how you feel from peak week and dragging that on for 7 weeks.
7 week peak week.
So it was like right after my show, you know, I had the day where, you know, I got to eat whatever I wanted. Then I went right back on plan, and it was just, and it wasn't even like a plan with more food. It was the plan that I was previously on. So it was like my literally the peak week with, I had like no carbs and stuff. And it pretty much stayed the same for 7 weeks, but more cardio. The cardio got reduced at first, then the cardio got picked up, you know, of course, as it went on. And it was just,
I was like, why did I tell him
It was like,
Why did I do this to myself?
that was definitely the hardest prep. Even my coach, I'm like texting my coach and stuff, and he's just like, man, I'm sorry, I gotta push you. Like he fell back. He's like, man, I don't want to push you like this. And I was like, hey, man, whatever you gotta do so like I can win, I don't care. Like just push me as hard, as you see fit. And so he really, really pushed me. Like, yeah, I didn't want to do nothing. And then, like I said, at that time, I'm getting ready. Like I'm still in school and stuff, so it's just like I didn't even feel like going to school. Like I had to drag myself to go to school and stuff, and at work, and I'm just like at work. I work at GNC, so I have to interact with people every day, and I like talking to people and stuff, but. At that point, I was just like, please, like, nobody come in.
Well, there was a day that we came in and you did look exhausted.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, hey, guys.
Like, usually, like, I'm, like, happy and cheery. I was just like, please, like, nobody talk to me. And then when I was at home, I was just like, babe, please don't talk to me. Just let me lay here on the couch. And it was brutal. But then leading up, so we rescheduled the vacation.
Right.
The vacation that I rescheduled for landed on the same day as Nationals.
Around Nationals, we had the guy messaged us and was like, are you coming?
And so. And I had forgot, like, we knew.
We talked about it. Yeah. We were like, what about the vacation that we're going to go on? And I said, well, Nationals is more important. Like, we'll just take an L on that.
So, so that was another reason why I didn't want to do Nationals too, because we knew it was going to be around the same time as, like, the vacation. And so I was just like, no, like, I promise you, like, we're going to go on our honeymoon, and all this, and then she was just like, that's how I knew, like, she really, like, believed in me, because she was like, no, like, she gave all that up. She was just like, no, like, I want you to go to Nationals. And crazy. It was just like, wow, like, you mean to tell me you don't want to go on this trip that we have been planning for forever just so I could go to Nationals, to maybe get a pro card. And she was just like, like, you need to do this, like, I believe in you.
So it's not like we were
and then we got to go to Miami, so it was still nice. And so it was definitely worth it.
We didn't talk about with the car, it also overheated too.
Wait, what?
Remember?
Wait, what?
The car overheated while I was driving it.
Oh yeah. It was. This is a lot of stuff.
The car
the car broke down too. This was like a few days before. So leading up to the car broke down. We got the car fixed, which that was like, man, I don't know if we're gonna go on this vacation after we got the car fixed. And then we just like, you know what, we're still gonna do it. Still gonna make it work. And then the car got broken into, and so it's just like all these things just leading up.
We just have a bad vacation.
So we were just like, you know what? I was just like, let's just reschedule or whatever. And then it's funny because I rescheduled it on the day of Nationals, not knowing that I'm going to go to Nationals. Jesus. And then so
at
it's
least
just
things happen with the car, like here and now while we're driving it.
Exactly. That's good.
It's meant to be.
I always say everything, happens for a reason, and it definitely like held true. Like I feel like everything happened for a reason for me, not being able to go to the show that I had originally was planning on doing, so I did the Northern Classic instead, and then me just deciding to go to Nationals, and I think everything just worked out perfectly, like it was supposed to happen that way. So it's just crazy. Yeah.